Hi, it's Kim and welcome to today's process video, which is a layout for Dusty Attic. So I'm starting this process video by preparing all of the chipboard that I've selected to use on this layout. So I am using some foliage. At the moment I'm painting a button word. I've also got some layered hexagons there. I've got some strip words and a title, and I have some broken honeycomb as well. So what I'm doing at the moment is layering up paints. You'll see that for the button words and the strip words, what I do is use thin layers of paint and, if necessary, add secondary layers. Because the words are engraved into the chipboard, you don't want to add paint too thickly because it will fill in that engraving. And so by using a sponge and lightly sponging it on, you will ensure that you don't put it on too thickly. So I just get a bit of paint and then sponge it off and then sponge it onto the chipboard. And now I'm moving on to the foliage. I am using a paintbrush because it doesn't have any of the engraved parts on it. So using a paintbrush works great. And first of all, on each of these foliage pieces, there's some little berries/flowers, and I'm painting all of those in a sparkly pink paint to start with. This is the paint that I'm using here is a Prima paint. They have lots of really pretty, highly sparkly, metallic-y type paints, which I have a bit of a thing for sparkle, so I really like these paints. So I'm in a bit of a different spot again for this particular video. I'm actually on retreat out at Raincliffe, which is a camp site, like a church camp area outside of Timaru. And it's the retreat for my local scrapbooking store in Balashit. So I'm out there with 50 people, having an amazing weekend, and I've actually filmed a few videos out there, but that's why I've got this lovely sunshine streaming in. So on this foliage now, I'm actually waxing it. So these are the Thinner Prima waxes, which I absolutely love using on chipboard. You get amazing coverage, and it's not necessary to paint a layer underneath. So I'm just adding a first layer. I think this might be a sage green that I'm adding, but I will be adding a few different colours onto these chipboards to give the variation in the colour. So this is a different colour green now that I've put out in the wax that I'm putting. I think this might be maybe emerald green that I'm putting onto one of the other foliage pieces. I think it's really nice to get some variation in colour and not have it too flat. So I'm adding a little bit of that other green now over to the sage green. So as I said, it just adds some variation in that colour in the foliage. And I am using the Mintay Woodland collection to do this layout. So it has lots of greens in that paper, and these foliage are going to work really well with the other elements from that collection. So again, just working my way through adding different layers onto these various elements. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and I'll let you see as I continue to work on all of these chipboard pieces. that all my chipboard's done, I just set that aside to dry, and now I start on my background layout my actual layout where I'm going to layer all the elements together. Now, I'm going to apologise. I've had some technical difficulties here, and for some reason I am way too zoomed in. However, I think you will see most of this layout come together because it is in the middle here. And I also don't know why the focus doesn't appear to be very good, so I'm not sure how that's showing up for you. But these are various elements that I have fussy cut from the Mintay Woodland paper. So I'm using that grotto style paper behind, which I thought as my background, because I thought that worked really well with this photo, which actually has some fairy lights in the background of the photo, and I thought it worked well with the little fairy lights hanging down in the grotto. So some of these elements I have fussy cut from the paper, and some are from the die cuts that come with this Woodland collection. And I am just using my favourite wet glue, which is art glitter glue. And you can see that I'm laying the chipboard foliage pieces in between the various elements that I've cut from the paper. And I think that those foliage pieces are just working beautifully with the cutouts from that Woodland paper. It's just perfect. So instead of foam tape, today I have used offcuts of chipboard behind my photo to prop it up so that it's got a little bit of dimension. That also means that if I need to, I can tuck any elements behind the photo. So you'll see now that I'm going to stick down these broken honeycomb pieces along the bottom of the photo, and I can actually slide those pieces up underneath the photo edge without any problems because they're the same height as the chipboard that's underneath the photo. So I'm just tucking some more elements in here, a leaf, and I've popped up a mushroom using some of the chipboard offcuts, just putting those honeycomb pieces along the bottom. So because they are broken up honeycomb pieces, I've been able to just offset them against each other along the bottom, and soon I'll come back and put my title on there. So now I've finished with the left side. I'm now over on the right side. I'm doing the same thing, layering the foliage, again, tucking some of that under the edges of the photo. And I'm just putting some chipboard offcuts there so I can stick up my owl and so that he sits nice and flat. And now I'm just going to layer in some more of that foliage, so placing it so it just comes over the owl piece but not covering it all up. Some offcuts of chipboard in there to then prop up my next piece that I've cut, which is some mushrooms. So the good thing about wet glue is that it gives you a bit of time to fiddle and move things. So I've just got a leaf here. Now I've shaped those leaves with my fingers, so to give them some more dimension. So I've just pushed at the paper to give it a shape, and generally they will retain those shape fairly well, particularly Mintay paper because it's a very heavy paper. So I'm continuing to build up these layers. You can see I'm just adding some little offcuts of chipboard there, and I'm sticking a very cute little snail down at the bottom of the photo. I absolutely love all the elements in this Mintay collection. They're cute without being cutesy, and this photo only has adults in it, but I think that all of these elements still work really well. I'm adding some of the hexagons at the bottom now, so I've created a cluster on the bottom right corner. And I will do another cluster in the top left corner, but I've now come to sticking the title down, which is Making Memories, and I'm putting the making at the bottom of the photo where there's that blank spot. So I'm just layering and connecting it with the cluster on the left of the photo, and then I am layering memories below. So the making's sitting quite high because it's up on the cluster, and the memory sits below it, so it creates a really nice tight title. I like my title being very close together, and I've layered a word strip below the title, and I think that finishes it off very nicely. Now I'm going back to my hexagons. You can see that I have added some layers onto the hexagons in the bottom right corner. So they've actually got the solid hexagon, then they've got the lacy edge hexagon on top of them, and then I have added some of the word bubbles. Now I'm playing with the hexagons in the top left corner and deciding where I want to put them. I've decided I'm going to bring them around, as you can see, and I'm actually going to layer a lacy hexagon overlapping those three and then put a word bubble on top of that. So I'm happy with how that is going. And you may have seen a third hand come in, and that's the hand of my friend Michelle, who's also on the design team here at Dusty Attic, and she was adding her 2 cents worth in on this process. So thank you, Michelle. You did make the video. And they are all stuck down now. I like how that element overlaps the 3 hexagons at the top, and it's similar but different to the hexagons that are at the bottom. And I believe the last little element, oh yes, there's Michelle's hand again, because I said to her she was on the video, so she had to stick it back in and make sure everybody saw her hand. And now I am going to just stick a few flowers in underneath the snail. So I'm just trimming those off a die cut that comes with that collection, and those flowers will then just connect the cluster on the right side with the hexagons and the snail. So I like my elements to all be connected to each other, so you can see how on the left and the right side, so the left side everything's touching with each other, and on the right side they're all touching, and then those broken honeycomb at the bottom actually tie those 2 pieces together. So that's how this composition of this layout has worked. Tucking in a final leaf and I'm done. So now here's some close-up photos of the layout. Again, I apologise for my technical difficulties, but I hope you found that video useful. I'd love it if you liked this video, and if you don't already subscribe to my channel, please do. I do regularly post-process videos, and I look forward to seeing you again here soon. Bye. And just as I finish doing all the editing, the technical issues with my video editing software resolves itself, so you probably didn't even notice any problems with this video. Again, nice to see you all here. Look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye.